A very warm welcome to all of you to Ayurvedic Healing and Beyond podcast. And this is your host, Dr. Vignesh Devraj. And in today's episode, we're going to discuss about the concept of Agni in Ayurveda. So the concept of Agni is quite unique to Ayurveda. Many Ayurvedic doctors, we always correlate with something is wrong with the Agni. Whenever you see a problem, something is wrong with the Agni. And in one of my previous episodes, I spoke about the concept of Ama. Ama is when the Agni is low, our body tends to pile up undigested food particles in the body. And also whenever you have a lot of emotional thoughts that you're not able to process it well, when you suppress certain emotions, that could lead to undigested things or unprocessed things in your mind, which we can call it Ama to the mind as well. Now, both of them, what does it mean when your Agni is low, your tendency of Ama going up? Let's understand this. Now, Agni, in a layman's language, we can call it fire. And in the Ayurvedic concept of doshas, the Pitta dosha is what Agni stands for. Now, if you look at the 5 elements, the element of fire, element of sun, the sun energy, the element of the energy that can convert into one form to another. If I heat water, the water which is in liquid form, it can become into a gaseous form. Same way, if it is an ice, you heat it, it can melt and become water. The same way, certain metals, what is their boiling point? That ability to turn around the form. And that is what this element of fire can do. And what is also unique with Agni, it's very unique. You have fire, you have all the 5 elements. You have earth, you have water, you have fire, you have space, you have ether or air. You can pollute all the 4. You can pollute earth, you can pollute water, you can pollute the space, you can pollute the air, but you can never pollute the fire. In fact, the fire can purify whatever you pollute. That's the thing about fire. Fire has the ability to transform and purify. And it can also destroy. It changes forms. Like we say, you cannot create nor destroy energy. It changes in form. The same way, fire is that element that has the potential to turn around the energy. So when our ability to transform, like we talk about transformation, the ability to transform is very important. So when that ability of transformation is low, that also means your Agni is low. When people say, I feel stuck, somewhere in their mind, that Agni is low. My ability to transform, to get unstuck, that is also low. That is why in Ayurveda, we always have a huge emphasis on correcting the Agni. Now, there are various forms of Agni that are mentioned in Ayurvedic textbooks. Like there is a concept called Jadaragni. Jadaragni is your Agni in your gut health. Like whatever food I'm eating, am I able to convert the food into a meaningful energy that I can use? Or do I feel tired, grumpy, bloated, heavy? That means something is wrong with my Agni. So when your Agni is good, the food is becoming energy. And also it's not just your Agni, it's also your food that you consume. But however, it's both together. That's why we say when your Agni is low, no matter how healthy you eat, still maybe your ability to convert that food into energy can be a challenge. That's why we have this saying, it's not what you eat, it's how you digest. That how you digest depends on your Agni. And this Agni has various contributors to make it better and various contributors that can challenge it and make it worse. So Jatra Agni is one. Now, if you look at Jatra Agni, there are subtypes in that. Like what are the types of your ability to, or in today's language, we call it metabolism. Like some people, they eat food and they don't put on weight. Some people, they think about food, they put on weight. Some people, they struggle to put on weight. Some people, they struggle to lose weight. And this can keep changing. Like they say that when I'm in a happy mode, even if I eat a lot of things, I can still lose weight. But some people, when they're stressed, like they eat a little or they could stress eat and they will be struggling and there will be a lot of resistance to lose that belly fat. And they are the ones who come up with these terms, once on your lips, forever on your hips, these kind of things. But also what kind of food you eat also matters a lot. So the types of Agni, especially with your metabolism in Ayurveda that we can discuss, one is called Tikshnagni. Tikshnagni is like they have such a voracious metabolism, like they can keep consuming and somehow the body can also digest it and process it. But to a great extent, it can also be unhealthy. But some people, they have a very good Agni. And there's another condition called Vishamagni. Vishamagni means especially patients who have certain hormonal imbalances, including the thyroid hormone imbalances or PCOS, they will get night hunger pranks. And suddenly, all of a night, they get up and they will go and eat something which is very heavy and very difficult to digest. This is something called Vishamagni. And their hunger pranks will be like, suddenly they don't feel hungry, but all of a sudden, maybe when all the restaurants and all the food, all the kitchens are closed in this planet, that's when they might have the hunger. I'm making it very sarcastic and being not the right way, but what I'm trying to say is they tend to get hunger pranks in the non-hourly manner. So when people are asleep at midnight, they might get this hunger pranks, or when people generally they are when we are designed to eat, and not in that time, that is when they get these hunger pranks. So somewhere they're hormonal imbalance, somewhere they also stressed, and somewhere their food habits are also not right. Now, for example, whenever I see a patient with PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, one of the things I have observed is, especially if they have a little bit of insulin resistance issues, sometimes they say, okay, I don't eat, I do intermittent fasting, I don't have breakfast in the morning, and sometimes I have a very light lunch. But after the whole days of work, it was very stressful, and at night, I so crave for a pizza, and I order a pizza and I have it. Now, when a person does this over a long period of time, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, suddenly that the body turns out to be a Vishamagni, because the body is not able to trust that the food is coming at the right time. So, and then whenever the food is coming, it's very heavy to digest, and it could be junk, maybe high on calories, but low on micronutrients. And this leads the body to believe that I don't know what is right, when is the right food coming, and what should I do? So the body goes in a very chaotic, untrustworthy mode. And this leads to Vishamagni. And then there's another condition called Mandagni. Mandagni is like people have very low appetite. They feel like, oh, my appetite is gone. And one of the ways we try to understand that somebody is having Mandagni is they eat, but they don't digest well. Their energy is low. They feel very heavy and very lethargic post-food. Suddenly, after the food, they feel like they need to shut down. And this is the kind of Mandagni. And on top of that, their appetite is very low. Sometimes this could also lead to bloating. Sometimes this could also lead to acidity issues, and maybe even to a certain extent constipation, like not going to toilet once in 2 or 3 days. Maybe they go to toilet only once in 2 or 3 days, or even more, less frequent than that. So these are some of the concepts, and our goal is to make it Samagni, that is a balanced Agni, where it is not extreme hunger and at the same time no appetite. We need somewhere in the middle. And that's why, there are multiple school of thoughts that talk about only when you can eat on time, you will have a good metabolism. And there's another school of thought that says you should eat only when you're hungry. But the right school of thought, according to Ayurveda, when it comes to balancing your Agni, balancing your body's inner healing clock, and the ability of the body's immune system, is you should train yourself and design your life in such a way that you're hungry on time and then you eat on time. And when you're eating on time, you're eating the healthy food. Yes, sometimes you will have the need, or you will get exposed to a lot of unhealthy stuff. But the thing is, that's why I always say health is your ability of the body to tolerate the unhealthy stuff. If your health is poor, the moment you indulge in something unhealthy or not, which is easy for the body, it immediately shows up in your system. So when you live your life in a healthy manner, your tolerance level for unhealthy stuff will get better. But that doesn't mean you should, so that, sometimes you see people wearing a t-shirt and it's like a cartoon figure trying to lift weights, and it says, I do this for the pizza. It's like, I am doing all the healthy stuff so that I can enjoy the pizza, or the unhealthy stuff. Maybe it's enjoyable, but need not be the healthiest. But sometimes, we might want to enjoy in things that are tasty. Maybe it is not the healthiest stuff. But to what extent your body can tolerate. So if you're healthy, your body can tolerate to some extent the unhealthy stuff. And that is where this concept of Agni comes. And one of the things, if you look at the concept of spices, if you see, one of the reasons why Christopher Columbus, we discovered America. We means the humanity discovered that continent, even those people were living there before. But Christopher Columbus was in search of India so that he could get spices. Now, if you look at some of the spices like pepper, or pepper at one point of time was considered to be the equivalent of what is gold today. And pepper has a quality of increasing your Agni. That's why we put pepper in many things, because it increases the flavor and it improves your appetite. And if you look at ginger, ginger also is quite hot in potency. And the dry ginger, there is wet ginger. And in Ayurveda, we call ginger as Vishwa Bheshajam. It means like a universal healing property. So when you add ginger with some certain, there is a saying, there is no kashaya, or which is like the Ayurvedic herbal decoction, without ginger. Because it's that potent, it's that important, it really improves the Agni of the patient. And it also, when you say you increase the Agni, you're also reducing the load of Ama in your system. So how to understand if Agni is good? If your Agni is good in your body, that means you digest well, you don't have unwanted or unhealthy cravings, and you have a good elimination routine. You go to the toilet on a regular basis. And also, if Ama is high, that means your cravings can be erratic, and you have certain cravings that are not healthy. And sometimes when you poop, the poop formation is not healthy. And even when they pee, they see a lot of frothiness or bubbles coming out. Unless they are taking some certain supplements or certain medications. Other than that, the color, if it is not plain like water, and if it has a lot of frothiness and bubbles, maybe that's a sign of too much of Ama. So by correcting the Agni, you're reducing the element of Ama in your system. And that is like, even today, you see a lot of people having vitamin D deficiency. And vitamin D is another thing that we get from the solar system. It's like our skin is like a solar panel to some extent. We derive these from the sun, exposing ourselves to sun. And people say, whenever we see Scandinavians or people who come from very cold climates where they don't have so much of exposure to sun, they say it's because we don't have sun, that's why I'm having vitamin D deficiency. But you will see even people living in the tropical climate who have sun maybe 280 or 300 days a year. Even I've seen people living in these geographical locations with this climate have vitamin D deficiency. And they would be less than, it not just deficiency, it could be like worse than insufficiency. And I've also seen when people consume alcohol, your body's ability to process vitamin D becomes very challenging. So then the moment they give up alcohol, they stop alcohol for a period, the vitamin D comes back to normal. So it's again how your alcohol is another toxin. So when you consume too much of toxin, your body is obsessed with eliminating it, and it is not able to focus on what are the other important priorities. So that's why one of the ways to enhance your Agni is to eliminate things that are not healthy for the body, like avoiding junk food, avoiding processed food, eliminating alcohol, eliminating heavy sweet, especially the desserts that are fatty and sweet, like the sweet with fat. When you consume that a lot, it's like too much of sticky food that goes inside your system. And this can hamper and increase the Ama load in your system, and it can also make your body tired. And when you feel tired, your natural tendency for the body is to consume more sugar, because sugar makes you think you are having more energy. And this is like catching the tiger's tail. When you catch the tiger's tail, you have to keep running, because otherwise the tiger is going to eat you. So you have to keep running behind it to sustain. So that's what happens when you eat, especially sweet food which are high in fat. So this is one of the aspects that comes. And some of the herbs, like in Ayurveda, we have this powder called Ashtachurnam. Ashtachurnam, it's a combination of 8 herbs. And this you add it along with your soup or something that is just boiled, or something which, when you're having a steamed or boiled food, you add a little bit of pinch to it. And please do consult with an Ayurvedic doctor so that you are given the right dosage and when to take it. And sometimes when people have acidity, they should not take this, because this can increase the heat in the body. So like this, we have another concept called Panchakolam. Panchakolam, these are like 5 herbs when we blend it together and you make a soup out of it. So before we start the treatment, we need to correct the Agni. And like one of the examples that are told, before you paint a wall, one thing that you do is you remove the old paint or whatever the stains are there, so that the new paint will stick to the wall. Same way, the old paint or the stain in the wall, that is what we call it as ama. So when you do, like, the words that we use for these medicines are Agni Deepanam or Pasanam. Deepanam, Pasanam. Like, we have a lot of Indian names with the word Deep, Sandeep, Deepak, Deepti. The word Deep also means light, but the idea is to ignite that fire back. Like the word Pitta. Pitta comes from the word Santape. That means that which can produce the heat, the ability to transform. And also the spiritual austerity, things like tapas. The word tapas means you see a sadhu meditating. The word tapas actually means to concentrate. You see, we do it when we were children in physics laboratory. We use a magnifying glass and expose it to the sun rays. The sun rays gets concentrated, and once the concentrated rays gets exposed to the paper catches fire. In the same way, that is what this concept of pitta is. So when your pitta is good, your agni is good. And when your agni is good, your metabolism is good and your life is good. So that's why in Ayurveda, we have a huge obsession on correcting the agni. So like I said, if you're having very poor appetite, or if you're having too much of hunger or sugar cravings, or like untimely cravings. Sometimes people get up at midnight and they have such solid cravings that they go to the fridge and look for the most heaviest and unhealthiest things, but which is very sweet and tasty to eat. And these kind of cravings are a sign that the agni is not good. And one of the ways, once we correct that, it has the potential to correct many other things in the body. That's why when you go to an Ayurvedic physician, one of his questions we ask is, did you go to toilet? How often you go to the toilet? How is your appetite? When do you feel hungry? And when you poop, what is the form of the poop? Do you struggle to poop, or is it like pellets, or is it well-formed poop? These are some of the feedbacks that we get from the patient to understand and assess to what extent and what good is their agni. Sometimes people say, oh, I love to eat. And if they are not overweight, that means they have a very good appetite. But some people, they could be overweight and they could have these hunger pranks and they could eat a lot. And that can lead to a lot of other problems, especially obesity is a kind of Vishamagni along with Tikshnagni. They could have an erratic Agni, and when the Agni is coming, when the appetite is coming, they want to eat like there is no tomorrow. It's like the only thing that they want to do in their life is just to eat. So that kind of appetite can come and create a havoc and imbalance the hormones in the body. So that's why we have an obsession with correcting the Agni. It's like that one single thread when you pull, it untangles everything. So this is what the concept of Agni is. And once we correct the Agni, then one of the ways to see if the Agni is also low in other parts of the body, we also have this concept, like I said, Jadaragni. There is this concept called Bhuta Agni and Dhatu Agni. Dhatu Agni means we have the 7 tissues, 7 dhatus. The word dhatu means that which supports the system. Like when we talk about doshas, we are so obsessed with when the dosha becomes excess, it's a problem. We are not so much worried about deficiency of doshas. Same way with dhatus, we are obsessed with the deficiency of dhatus. We are not obsessed with the excess of dhatus. Yes, it can also create a problem. Just like we are not so worried about if vitamin D is high. Yes, it can also create a problem. But if vitamin D is low, it can create a lot of problem. Now, if you look at cholesterol, if cholesterol is high, it is a big problem. But if cholesterol is low, it's also a problem, but not as much a problem as when the cholesterol is high. Same way, when the doshas are high, it can create a problem. When dhatus are low, it creates a terrible problem. So in Dhatu Agni, what we see is when the Agni is low in dhatus, it is a problem. So it has to be corrected. Same way, there is this concept of Bhuta Agni, but these are more of a theoretical understanding. But in a practice, an Ayurvedic physician mostly focuses on this concept of Jadaragni, which is Mandagni, which is very slow metabolism, Tikshnagni, which is like they have a strong appetite, they could eat and eat and eat, and their ability to process and digest food is very high, to some extent that it can be quite unhealthy as well. And then there is this concept of Vishamagni, where they have erratic appetite. Sometimes they have night hunger pangs, and this could be a sign of hormonal imbalances. And the duty is to correct and make it into Samagni. That is what we do in a consultation.